The orientation hall buzzed with nervous chatter as 300 first-year cadets shuffled into their seats at the Galactic Military Academy on Station Kepler 9. Species from 70 different worlds had gathered, their scales, feathers, and various appendages creating a rainbow of biological diversity that would make any xenobiologist weep with joy. Terra Blake sat near the back, her standard-issue Academy jumpsuit already feeling too tight around the shoulders. She had that look about her, the kind that made people instinctively step aside in corridors. Dark hair pulled into a practical bun, calloused hands, and eyes that suggested she found most conversations mildly amusing at best. "Attention, cadets!" The voice belonged to Instructor Vex, a Krillian whose forearms gesture with military precision. His exoskeleton gleamed under the fluorescent lights as he projected an air of absolute authority. "Today marks your first mandatory physical assessment. This academy has trained warriors for 6 centuries, and every single one of you will meet our standards, or you will leave." Terra suppressed a yawn. She had heard this speech before back on Earth, at 3 different military prep schools. They all thought they were special. Beside her, a Flanari student named Kix vibrated with excitement, his translucent skin rippling with bioluminescent patterns. "I have trained my entire life for this moment. My cardiovascular efficiency is 0.73 above my species average." "That's great, buddy," Terra said, patting him on what she assumed was a shoulder. It squelched slightly. The gymnasium made the orientation hall look tiny by comparison. Equipment from dozens of worlds lined the walls, each piece designed to test different aspects of physical capability. Gravity plates hummed in the floor, ready to simulate various planetary conditions. First assessment. Instructor Vex's voice echoed through the space. "Standard endurance run. 4 kilometers. You will complete this in under 20 minutes, or you fail." The cadets lined up at the starting markers. Terra noticed most of them were already breathing heavily, psyching themselves up for challenge. She stretched her quads casually, more out of habit than necessity. The starting klaxon blared. Terra took off at what she considered a light jog, the kind of pace she would use back home when she wanted to think. Around her, cadets sprinted with everything they had, determined to prove themselves. By the end of the first kilometer, she had lapped the Matherian delegation twice. They skittered on their 6 legs with impressive speed, but apparently no stamina whatsoever. She gave them a friendly wave as she passed. "Cadet Blake." Vex's voice crackled over the speakers. "This is not a leisure activity. Increase your pace." Terra shrugged and sped up slightly, moving from a jog to what she would call a comfortable run. This brought her past the Yarvelian cluster, who were already showing signs of respiratory distress. Their gills flapped frantically as they struggled to process oxygen. Kix appeared beside her, his translucent form jiggling with effort. "How are you maintaining this speed without elevated cardiac stress?" "My sensors indicate your heart rate is barely above resting." "I'm just running," Terra said, not even breathing hard. "You okay?" "You look a little wobbly." "I am performing at maximum capacity," Kix insisted, then immediately veered off course and collapsed into a gel-like puddle near the wall. Medical drones swooped in instantly. By kilometer 3, Terra was alone in the lead. Behind her, the sounds of distress grew louder. Someone was definitely crying. Multiple someones, actually. The medical bay was going to be busy tonight. She crossed the finish line at 11 minutes, 14 seconds. Then she kept running, because 4 kilometers was barely a warm-up, and she figured she might as well get some actual exercise in while she was here. Instructor Vex stood at the finish line, all 4 arms crossed, his compound eyes fixed on her with an expression she could not quite read. "Cadet Blake, stop running." Terra looped back around and jogged to a halt in front of him. "Yes, sir." "You just completed that course in half the allotted time. Was there a maximum speed limit?" "Sorry, I must have missed that in the briefing." The instructor's mandibles clicked together, possibly in irritation. "How are you not exhausted?" "Sir, I haven't really exerted myself yet. That was basically a light jog. Back home, we call this kind of thing a recovery run." Over the next 40 minutes, other cadets trickled across the finish line in various states of collapse. Medical teams worked overtime. The Zephyrians had to be carried out on stretchers. The Dovrathian representative actually shed their outer skin from stress, which created a minor biohazard situation. Kix reformed himself enough to ooze across the line at 19 minutes, 58 seconds, and immediately dissolved into a celebrating puddle. When the last cadet finally finished, Vex surveyed his decimated class with what Terra assumed was disappointment. 73 of you failed to meet the minimum standard. You will repeat this assessment tomorrow. Dismissed. As the cadets limped toward the showers, Vex called out, "Cadet Blake, remain behind." Terra walked over, still not remotely tired. "Sir, tomorrow you will participate in the advanced class. Your performance today was statistically impossible." "It really wasn't, sir. That's just normal human exercise tolerance. Humans are classified as a Class 7 Deathworld species. Your planet is gravity 13% above galactic standard, atmospheric oxygen levels that will be toxic to most species, and predators that hunt in coordinated packs. We are aware of your biology. What we were not prepared for was a practical application." Terra grinned. "Oh, you haven't seen anything yet, sir." The next morning, Terra reported to advanced physical training, expecting to find a challenge finally. Instead, she found 12 cadets who looked like they had been personally selected for their ability to move without immediately dying. The instructor for this class was Commander Thane, a Bracken whose species was known for its exceptional strength. He stood nearly 3 meters tall, his scaled hide scarred from countless battles. "So you are the human everyone is talking about, the one who made our endurance run look like a casual stroll. I really didn't mean to make anyone feel bad, sir. I was just running. We shall see how you handle strength assessment." He gestured to a series of resistance machines that looked like medieval torture devices. "These are calibrated to Bracken standards. We shall start you at level 3. That should be equivalent to lifting approximately 100 kilograms of your Earth mass." Terra approached the machine, gripped the handles, and lifted. It felt like picking up a moderately heavy backpack. "Sir, I think this machine might be miscalibrated." Thane's eyes narrowed. "Proceed to level 5. Still easy. Level 7. Getting warmer. Level 10. "Okay, this one actually requires some effort," Terra said, completing her set of 10 repetitions. "Can we do a few more rounds at this weight?" Commander Thane looked at his datapad, then at Terra, then back at his datapad. "Level 10 is what I use for my personal training. I am considered exceptionally strong among my people." "That's awesome, sir. You must be really dedicated to fitness." Over the next hour, Terra worked through the entire circuit of equipment, systematically breaking every single academy record that had stood for decades. She did not do this to show off. She genuinely thought she was performing normally and kept expecting the actual challenge to begin. During pull-ups, she chatted casually with a cadet next to her, a Vorlian named Jex, who could manage 5 before his arms gave out. Terra had stopped counting at 60 when Commander Thane told her to move to the next station. "How is this possible?" Jex gasped, his tentacles trembling with exhaustion. "Do you feel no pain? No fatigue? Are you a machine?" "Nah, I'm just warmed up now. This feels pretty good. Actually, I was worried I would lose condition while at the academy, but if we can do this every day, I should be fine." The breaking point came during the endurance holds. The exercise was simple. Maintain a static position supporting your body weight for as long as possible. The academy record was 4 minutes, held by a Draken whose species had evolved specifically for this kind of muscular control. Terra assumed the position, a horizontal plank suspended between 2 bars. At 4 minutes, Commander Thane announced she had tied the record. At 8 minutes, the other cadets stopped their own exercises to watch. At 15 minutes, someone started taking bets. At 23 minutes, Terra asked, "Sir, how long are we supposed to hold this? My arms are starting to feel a little." Commander Thane looked like he was experiencing a personal crisis. "You may stop, Cadet Blake." She dropped down, rolled her shoulders, and smiled. "Great workout, sir. Same time tomorrow." That evening, the Academy Board convened an emergency meeting. Terra found out about it when she was summoned to the Commandant's office, a massive room decorated with battle honors from 6 centuries of military tradition. Commandant Vorix, a distinguished Hylenian whose silver feathers denoted advanced age, sat behind a desk made from the hull of a legendary warship. Cadet Blake, please sit. Terra sat, genuinely confused about whether she was in trouble. In one day, you have broken 47 Academy fitness records. You have made our advanced training program look inadequate. You have caused 3 separate species delegations to file formal complaints, claiming that your presence constitutes an unfair competitive advantage. Sir, I was just participating in classes. We are aware. That is precisely the problem. Vorix brought up a holographic display showing comparative biological data. Humans are persistent hunters. Your species evolved to literally chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. Your bones are density enhanced to support high-impact activity. Your cooling system is so efficient that you can maintain physical exertion in conditions that would kill most species. You are, from a biological standpoint, an endurance predator. Is this going somewhere, sir? Commandant Vorix's silver feathers ruffled with what Terra was learning to recognize as alien frustration. The Academy Council has reached a decision. We cannot in good conscience allow you to continue in standard physical training courses. Terra felt her stomach drop. After everything she had done to get here, they were going to kick her out because she was too fit? Sir, please, I'll try to perform worse. I can slow down, lift less, You misunderstand, Cadet Blake. We are not removing you from the Academy. We are removing the physical requirements from your curriculum entirely. You have demonstrated capabilities so far beyond our standards that testing you further would be meaningless. It would be like asking a starship to prove it can hover. The relief was immediate, but it came with confusion. So what am I supposed to do during training hours? Vorix's expression shifted to something that might have been amusement among his species. That is where things become interesting. The Academy Board has decided that instead of you adapting to our standards, perhaps our standards need to adapt to reality. We want you to design a physical training program for human cadets. There's more than one of us coming. Next semester, we have 47 humans enrolled. After your performance, Galactic Command has suddenly become very interested in recruiting from Earth. Your species has been largely overlooked for frontline military service because everyone assumed Deathworld conditions made you fragile, not formidable. Terra grinned. Sir, if you want to see fragile, you should meet my grandmother. She runs ultramarathons for fun. She's 73. Vorix made a note on his datapad with trembling appendages. That is precisely the kind of information that gives the Council nightmares. But it also represents an opportunity. We need warriors who can endure. Show us what humans consider basic fitness. Over the next 2 weeks, Terra put together a training proposal. She kept it simple, based on what she would consider a moderate routine for someone in decent shape. Morning runs, 5 kilometers, nothing crazy. Basic strength training 3 times a week. Some high-intensity interval work. Flexibility exercises. Recovery days built in. She presented it to Commander Thane, who looked at the program like she had handed him a declaration of war. This is your idea of moderate training? Sir, this is less than I was doing back home. I'm trying to ease people into it. Cadet Blake, this program would hospitalize 70% of our current students within the first week. Seriously? Okay, what if we cut the running distance in half? Still too much. Strength training twice a week instead of 3? Better, but the intensity levels you have listed would still be excessive. They went back and forth for an hour, with Terra gradually realizing that what she considered basic exercise was genuinely superhuman by galactic standards. Finally, they compromised on a program that Terra privately thought was barely worth doing, but which Thane insisted would challenge most cadets significantly. The following week, the Academy made an announcement that sent ripples through the entire student body. Starting next semester, there will be 2 tracks for physical training. Standard track for most species, and Deathworlder track for humans and any other species willing to attempt it. Kicks ooze up to Terra in the cafeteria, his bioluminescence pulsing with excitement. I wish to attempt your human training program. Kix, buddy, I don't think that's a great idea. No offense, but you literally liquefied during a light jog. Which is precisely why I must try. If I am to serve alongside humans in actual combat, I must understand your capabilities. Plus, my species has never been known for physical prowess. Imagine if I could change that. Terra admired his enthusiasm, even if she questioned his judgment. All right, but we're starting really slow. Like, embarrassingly slow by human standards. Excellent. When do we begin? Tomorrow morning, 0500 hours. Wear something you don't mind sweating in. Do Flanari sweat. We excrete excess heat through osmotic pressure differential, which causes temporary molecular dissolution, but yes, essentially we sweat. The next morning, Terra met Kix at the track. She had modified her routine even further, planning a gentle 2-kilometer jog at a pace that would make her high school gym teacher weep with disappointment. Ready? She asked. Kix's surface rippled with determination. I was born ready. Well, technically I was spawned ready, but the sentiment stands. They started running. Terra kept glancing over to make sure Kix was keeping up. To her surprise, he was managing pretty well, his gelatinous form bouncing along with strange efficiency. How are you feeling? She called over. Like my molecular bonds are screaming for mercy, but I refuse to quit. That's the spirit. Sort of. Maybe toned down the molecular bond screaming. By the 1-kilometer mark, 3 more cadets had joined them, a Draken named Sora, a Matherian called Rix, and, surprisingly, a Yarvelian named Teo, whose species had specifically cited Terra as an unfair advantage in their complaint. I do not understand why I am doing this. Teo gasped, his gills working overtime. This is madness. You're doing great. Terra encouraged. We're almost halfway done. Halfway? Teo sounded horrified. They finished the run together, and while everyone except Terra collapsed at the end, nobody liquefied or required medical attention. Terra considered this a win. Word spread quickly. The human who broke all the records was offering training sessions. Within a week, 20 cadets were showing up for morning runs. They came from a dozen species, all determined to prove they could handle Deathworlder standards. Most of them failed spectacularly at first. But the interesting thing was, they kept coming back. Instructor Vex approached Terra one morning after a session. I owe you an apology, Cadet Blake. For what, sir? When you first arrived, I thought you were an anomaly, a statistical outlier who would expose the weakness in our training standards. Instead, you have done something far more valuable. You have inspired these cadets to exceed what they thought possible. They're doing that themselves, sir. I'm just running at a pace that doesn't make me fall asleep from boredom. Humble as well as strong. Your species will make formidable allies. He paused, mandibles clicking thoughtfully. I have a question, if you do not mind. Sure, sir. This routine you have designed for next semester's human cadets. You have described it as basic training. What would you consider advanced training for your species? Terra thought about her uncle, a Marine who used to do 100-mile ruck marches for fun. About the Special Forces operators who trained in conditions that would make most of this academy look like a vacation resort. About the athletes who push human performance to levels that seem to defy physics. Sir, I think maybe we should walk before we run with that conversation. Figuratively speaking, I mean, because if I tell you what actual human competitive athletes do, you're going to think I'm making it up. Try me. Okay, well, there's this thing called an Ironman triathlon. You swim about 4 kilometers, bike 180 kilometers, then run a marathon, which is 42 kilometers. People do this recreationally. My cousin did one last year. Instructor Vex was silent for a long moment. That is not possible. I have video evidence if you want to see it. Please do not show me. I am already having difficulty processing the existence of your morning jog. The semester continued, and Terra settled into an unusual routine. Academically, she was average, which was fine. She had never claimed to be a genius. Tactically, she was decent, with good instincts, but room for improvement. But physically, she existed in a category of her own. The academy stopped trying to test her, and instead started asking her to demonstrate. When the engineering students needed to understand the load-bearing capacity of different materials, Terra would participate in stress tests. When the medical students studied comparative biology, She volunteered for scans that consistently made the doctors recalibrate their equipment. But the real impact was on her fellow cadets. The ones who joined her morning run started performing better in all their classes. Not because running made them smarter, but because it taught them they could do hard things, that their limits were not fixed, that discomfort and growth were companions, not enemies. Kix, in particular, transformed over the weeks. His species had never been warriors, had never even been considered for combat roles. But he kept showing up, kept pushing, and gradually his gelatinous form became more stable under exertion. He would never match human endurance, but he no longer liquefied at the first sign of difficulty. "You have given me a gift," he told Terra one morning after a particularly brutal hill run. "Not strength, exactly, but the belief that I am capable of more than my biology suggested." "You always had that capability, Kix. You just needed a reason to find it." The final physical assessment of the semester arrived. The same 4-kilometer run that had devastated the class on day one. Terra ran it again, this time pacing herself deliberately to finish in exactly 20 minutes, the maximum allowed time. She wanted to see how everyone else did without her performance overshadowing theirs. Every single one of her morning running group passed. Several of them set personal records. Teo, the Yarvelian who had complained about unfair advantages, finished in 18 minutes and celebrated by doing a victory dance that involved a lot of gill flapping. Commandant Vorix addressed the graduating class at the semester's end. "This term has taught us valuable lessons about potential and perseverance. We learned that the standards we believed were absolute were actually flexible. Those capabilities we thought were universal were actually limited by our imagination. And we learned this because one cadet refused to accept that her normal was our exceptional." Terra sat in the audience, embarrassed by the attention, but proud of what her classmates had accomplished. After the ceremony, Commander Thane pulled her aside. "Next semester, when the human cadets arrive, they will need an instructor for the Deathworlder track. Someone who understands both human capabilities and how to teach other species. The position is yours if you want it." "Sir, I'm just a first-year cadet. There must be more qualified people." "More qualified than the person who accidentally revolutionized our entire physical training program by simply existing? I think not. Besides, those 47 humans are going to need someone who can keep up with them. You are literally the only option." Terra thought about it. Teaching had never been her plan. She had come to the academy to be a soldier, to see the galaxy, maybe shoot some bad guys if the opportunity arose. But the last few months had shown her something unexpected. She was good at this. Not just the physical part, but the teaching part, the encouraging part, the helping people find their potential part. "All right, sir, I'll do it, but I'm going to need a bigger track." "Why?" "Because if you think my routine is intense, wait until you see what 47 humans consider a normal workout. We're going to need space, a lot of space, and probably a significantly larger medical staff on standby." Commander Thane's expression suggested he was already regretting this decision, but he nodded anyway. "I will make the arrangements. Try not to traumatize the entire academy, Cadet Blake." "No promises, sir." That night, Terra sent a message back to Earth to her family and friends who had supported her journey to the stars. She told them about the semester, about the records she had accidentally broken, about the program she was building. She told them that humans were no longer going to be overlooked in the Galactic Military. That Deathworlder status was not a weakness to overcome, but a strength to embrace. And she told them to spread the word, because the galaxy was about to learn what humanity had always known, that the species which evolved chasing prey until collapse from exhaustion, which climbed mountains for fun and ran marathons in deserts and swam across channels, and pushed their bodies to limits that seemed impossible, that species was not fragile. They were relentless, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming. Subscribe and like to my channel for more HFY sci-fi stories.